I've led over 912 listening prayer sessions, and I've seen the exact same blocks show up again and again. Blocks that keep sincere, faithful people from ever truly hearing God. And the truth is, it's not because He isn't speaking, it's because we're unknowingly sabotaging the conversation. Now, what I'm about to share will probably challenge how you've thought about prayer. But if you stick with me, you'll walk away not just with new insight, but you'll walk away with actual ways to connect with God today. You see, over the last few years, I've coached hundreds of believers, moms, ministers, entrepreneurs, all through real-time listening prayer. And I've watched them go from spiritual confusion to clarity, from fear to faith, from silence to unmistakable moments of divine connection. And these 5 blocks I'm about to show you aren't theory, they're patterns. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. So I'm going to walk you through the 5 hidden blocks that keep you from hearing God. One of them is going to challenge your expectations and how you think prayer is supposed to work. One is rooted in fear that developed from past wounds, and one might sound wise or mature on the surface, but it's actually a form of overthinking that keeps you from trusting God's presence. And in the end, I'll share a story that just ties all this together. Okay, so let's dive in. Block number 1 is about expectations. The reason why expectations block us from hearing God is because you think you know what hearing God should look like. You expect that if you ask God a question, you should get a clear verbal answer, or maybe a scripture reference, or a burning sensation in your heart. But here's what happens. When you don't get that answer in the form you expect, you start to doubt the whole thing. You get anxious, you get into your head, you analyze the silence. It's just like when you text someone and they don't reply right away. You might create stories. Are they mad at me? Did I say something wrong? What do they mean by that emoji? Your brain gets crowded, and a crowded brain has no space for the whisper of God. It's not that He can't speak through the chaos, He can, but more often He chooses to speak through the stillness. You might recall Psalm 46:10, which says, "Be still and know that I am God." So my invitation is that you let go of how you think it should happen. Because the more flexible your heart, the more clearly you'll hear. Block number 2 is about confession. The truth is, we don't tell God the truth. We may go into prayer and say, "God, I'm having a really hard time right now, and I trust you." But inside, we're confused, afraid, and a little upset that God didn't answer our last prayer. It's kind of like when I ask my wife how she's doing, and I can tell something's off, but she just says, "I'm fine." If she doesn't tell me what's going on, I can't help her. I don't know where to meet her. So I give her space. And God does the same a lot of times. He's not going to force intimacy with us. So if we're not being honest, He waits. Same thing happens with a doctor. You can't be healed unless you admit where it hurts. 1 John 1:6 says this, "If we say we have fellowship with Him, but walk in darkness, we lie and do not live out the truth." God operates in truth. So until we get real honest, He might just go silent. But when we admit things like, "God, I'm scared. God, I'm bitter. God, I feel like you've abandoned me," then we open the doors for God to speak the truth to us. All I know is that honesty is crucial. And the reason why we don't get honest is because of block number 3. So block number 3 is about fear. Why do we not tell God the truth? It's because we're afraid. We're afraid of what He might say. We may have been taught that being angry at God is not okay. We may also be afraid to connect with God because we think He'll tell us to give up our favorite Netflix show or something else we like. We might be afraid He'll call us into something hard. But even deeper than all these things, we're afraid of getting intimate and close with God. Because whenever you pour your heart and soul into something or someone, you open the doors for pain. And for many of us, we've trusted people who have rejected us. We've shared our heart and we were judged and shamed. So now we project that same fear onto God. We think, if I get close, I might get rejected. If I let myself feel loved, I might be abandoned. But the truth is, God is not like people. Jesus didn't tell the woman caught in adultery, "You're filthy. I reject you." No, he said, "I don't condemn you." Jesus never rejected vulnerability. Instead, he rewarded it. Remember how in 1 John 4:18 it says, "Perfect love casts out fear"? The way out of fear is not through fixing or perfecting your life so you won't be judged. The way out of fear is by allowing yourself to be so overwhelmingly loved that fear gets swallowed up in it. Now let's dive into block number 4, which is all about the question, is this me or is it God? Have you ever asked this question? If you have, you're not alone. It's actually one of the most asked and searched questions when it comes to hearing from God. It's also one of the biggest traps. Why? Because it sounds like discernment, but really it's anxiety in disguise. Check this out. So when you think the thought, "Is this God or is it just me?" how do you feel? Most likely, this question brings a feeling of confusion, of doubt, or uncertainty. And when you feel these things, how do you act? If you're anything like me, when you feel confused, you either give up entirely or you overanalyze things. You try and figure out the problem instead of listening. And the thing about figure out mode is that it blocks intimacy. And if you don't believe me, just try fixing your spouse or children and see if it brings you closer to them. It just doesn't work. You see, God's voice comes through trust, not troubleshooting. So the more you try and figure it out, the more confused you will likely become. You start fixing what isn't broken. You get in your head and you override your heart. So sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is stop trying to solve it. Just receive, rest. Let God be God and allow yourself to believe that the voice that sounds like your own thinking, but seems to be infused with a feeling of love or peace or gentleness, is actually God speaking. All I know is that if your thoughts lead you to do good, I don't think God will mind if you follow them. And most likely it is God. Now, finally, block number 5 occurs from the idea that we don't think we're worthy. And this block is perhaps the most heartbreaking because a lot of the unworthiness that I have felt in my life has actually come from what I've been taught at church. You know, we grow up with a list of commandments, and when we don't obey them, it doesn't mean we did something wrong. It means we're morally wrong and that we are not right in God's eyes. We're not worthy in God's eyes. And if you sin again and again and again, then, well, good luck. It's like we literally think God won't speak to me because of my sins. And if I think that, we won't even approach God with questions. Or if we do approach him, we don't think he'll answer as a form of punishment. But that's not the gospel. Remember the parable of the king who forgave the servant with the unpayable debt? Or when Jesus said, "Forgive others 70 times 7? That wasn't just about math. The number 7 represents wholeness. So 70 times 7 is about wholeness times wholeness, infinite mercy and forgiveness. God isn't holding a grudge against you. That's what we do sometimes when someone hurts us, but that's not what God does. He didn't give up on Peter. He didn't give up on Moses. He didn't give up on Paul, and he's not going to give up on you. So just to anchor all of this together, let me tell you a story I recently experienced. A woman I'll call Susan came to me and she was very overwhelmed. Her friend had gone into a nursing home and her vacant house now had become a home for honeybees. Now, Susan loves honeybees and she didn't want them exterminated. So she struggled to find help and it was keeping her spinning in stress. So we prayed and asked God what to do about the situation. The problem is, Susan didn't sense anything. So I asked a different question. I said, God, what unhelpful beliefs are within this challenge for Susan? And immediately she heard, if I don't do it, it won't get done. And she also recalled the phrase from her childhood, you just wait until your father gets home. And she remembered hiding in a cupboard as a child, afraid of her dad's anger. So we invited Jesus into that memory. And she saw Jesus there with her in the cupboard. And he wasn't judging her, he was protecting her. So after relieving this fear and trauma in this memory, I asked God, is there anyone you would invite Susan to forgive? And the reason why I asked this, and it's just a side note, but unforgiveness is also a huge block to receiving. So as a bonus, I just want to highlight it here, because if you can't sense God, I want you to consider asking him if there's anyone you need to forgive. And you might be surprised by how much that opens the gate to you hearing from God. So anyways, back to our story. So after asking the question on forgiveness, Susan sensed the need to forgive her father, which she did. And from a new place of freedom, we asked God again about what to do concerning the honeybee situation. This time, Susan immediately sensed God say, go and have a carefree day. Do what you want. Not fix it, not hurry up and obey, just enjoy your day. So listen, if you've ever struggled to hear God, maybe it's not about doing it right. Maybe it's about releasing your expectations, your pretending, your fear, your mental overdrive, your shame, or your unforgiveness. You see, God is already speaking to you. You don't have to earn his voice. You just have to make room for it. So if this video spoke to you and you want to go deeper, I invite you to join me in the Receive Academy. This is my free community where we practice listening to prayer, we clear the blocks, and we walk in our God-given identities. It's actually a really powerful movement of people who are growing closer to Jesus, because we're applying the gospel in a way you will likely never do at church. And it's not that churches are bad. It's just that churches have traditions and structures that can get in the way of connecting with Jesus. So if you want to actually hear God in your life, you can go to the Receive Academy, or you can check out this other video, which will help you hear God right now. Remember, you were made to hear from God, and he will never stop loving you and never stop seeking you out. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you later.